Welcome back. Today, as you may have noticed from the thumbnail and from the title, we are going to be addressing the Atheist Gamer. Now, I'm not going to be going on the attack. I'm not going to be trawling through the other videos of his that he has now deleted that I downloaded before he deleted. No, we are going to address, however, a few points he brings up many times in his current and newest video. Now, before we start, I'd like to address a couple of points before I get into his repeated many times points. First, around 18 months ago when I first started, he had about 800 to 900 subscribers. It wasn't long after that he did a collaboration with Undoomed. Now, when I heard his voice, I thought it was a character voice. I thought it was one of those ones exaggerated for effect, and it worked in my head because I quite liked it with the hat. And I can only imagine the amount of effort he put in, certainly now since I do a bit more editing than I used to, and maybe not getting the views he wanted to justify the amount of effort he put in. I can get it. But of course, that depends on how you interpret your channel. Second, he destroyed the character if it was considered one with the hat when he went on camera. To me, I quite like the hat. I really do. So to me, the floating hat with all the silly voices and the Bane hamster worked. It wasn't the most elegant of voices, but it was a character that I thought could be reasonably successful. Not like Rory the Lion, because that's just amazing, but something similar. And third, early on in this video, you're going to bring up wanting to help people. I want to say this now, you have nearly 2,000 subscribers. Even by pissing people off by doing something so silly as to just attack someone because you got bored of making the same debunk videos, you'd probably still be able to help people in a way that is considered meaningful, because 2,000 subscribers is not easy to get to. It took me nearly a year to get to that, and I was lucky enough to be able to work with Satiritician to get a shout out. In the end, it all boils down to never expecting nor demanding respect. Never demand people give you attention, never expect people to give you attention. You just keep working and you will get there eventually. It takes some longer, and maybe you have been around for longer, but that doesn't mean you should be more successful just because somebody has popped up and within a few months they've skyrocketed. Originality on their part has got them there. Your inconsistency harmed you. Now that I've gotten that off my chest, let's get into your video.
You already know from the title of this video on what this is about.
Yes, you.
On why I do these things.
For the type of content you and I make, although we are slightly different in how we approach it, having a solid motivation is very important. So I am intrigued to know what yours is.
My original intent was to become popular enough to help other YouTubers. Similar sense on how certain YouTubers who get enough subscribers or enough viewers would tend to have guest speakers on their channel.
My apologies for anyone triggered by the jump cuts. They were not his, it was me cutting out excessive dead air. But the sentence flowed and he didn't move enough, so it's not really that noticeable. Anyway, to address your points, it is quite admirable that you would want to help others, but your main focus should always be about yourself. I, for example, chose to do it because I wanted to add my voice to something that I felt needed more attention. I used my channel as a way to help rebuild confidence in myself, and when people started to ask to work with me, I was flattered, honoured, and so I did. It was the reward for being consistent. Let's ignore the fact that I had horrific audio for the first 15 months of my channel's existence. Thanks for that, bearing.
The thing is that it took me about 3 to 4 years to get the amount of subscribers that I have today, and even longer considering that I was on YouTube way before the whole anti-feminist thing. I was an anti-feminist before it was cool.
Yes, I noticed you were an anti-feminist before it was cool. I took the liberty of trawling through 3 years worth of your content, right back to the Women's Pens video. I also looked at the video of you white knighting, as you said it yourself, for Girl Does Rant. The problem I discover is you're very inconsistent. 1 minute you will flit with a character and then you will flit on camera, and I thought some of the videos were amusing and good, and, you know, great to learn from, but you didn't learn from them. And I mean learn in the sense that you could have structured your arguments better as time went by, but you didn't. Instead you got lazier and started putting out what you called wank material.
I know you guys want some anti-feminist wank material.
Yeah, you could say that.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I will not quote mine again, I promise.
But the thing is that I really legitimately tried my very best to entertain every one of you. Clearly, it's not enough. My best was not enough. My apparent avatars. I guess it's just too boring.
A very obvious problem here that you present is firstly that you think you're going to keep growing and growing. Channel growth happens in spurts for most of us. We don't just skyrocket. We don't have consistency in channel growth. We're not all that lucky. Also, you think your audience retention should be higher. I set myself a target of retaining about 50% of my audience. And you should consider something similar, because people are going to get bored. They're not always going to be there for you. They're going to find other channels as well. So they're not always going to see your videos. I did a video with some other people like Irate Bear, Miss Misa, and Cognitive Thought, and we talked about how best to keep your audience. Things like thumbnails, things like audio quality, camera quality, lighting, something which in this video and other videos, lighting is not your best friend. And I can understand your circumstances, so I'm not going to be that kind of person to attack you for it or rail on you for it. But you do have another way. You talk about your avatar being too boring and point at yourself. Maybe that avatar is boring, yourself that is. But your hat avatar, the floating avatar, the hamster, I like it. I think it's quite cool. It's unique. It stands out. I'm an avatar in a suit. Originality, 0.
That's the excuse. It's just too boring to watch. Fuck the points that I made. Fuck the jokes I made. No, it's the avatar.
I do wonder if you always had this kind of mentality, where you would be obsessed with subscriber and view count. Also, as time has gone by, your arguments have gotten weaker. You said it yourself in many videos that you've now privated or deleted, that you were sick of making the same videos over and over again. So instead you've switched it up to simply attacking the person. By doing that, you incurred the ire of someone else, somebody who you would consider on your side. That was your mistake though, not theirs. You made the mistake. If you didn't want to make that content anymore, you could have moved on. This entitlement is really silly. You should never expect anything and be grateful for what you get. And you get decent views, to be honest. I mean, they're not as big as that of Charming Man 98, but they are pretty good for the size of your channel.
It's always have to be me. But the thing is that despite the fact that I'm pretty much an underdog, I've been trying my very best to come up with new ways to tackle the situation when it comes to feminism.
And in that, you made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with wanting to mix things up to improve things, but you switched from being rational, kind of, to just being abusive, obnoxious, and now a bit of a victim. You're not a victim in this. The evidence is there, and a lot of people downloaded those videos, myself included. You did yourself no favors. You brought what happened to you on yourself. And I, along with quite a number of other content creators that I've spoken to, reached out to you and even offered solutions to fix this. Not just by paying More Grand TV the $50, which I don't even know if you've done yet. And no, I don't mean the apology, because let's face it, nobody cares anymore. We know you're not going to do it, and even if you did, it would be with quotations, sincere. But anyway, I'm digressing. Please carry on.
I always create special videos whenever I reach a certain amount of subscribers. I try to entertain, make a few jokes. I even made a few songs. I tend to get more viewers when I make these special videos, but not that much. It's just really pathetic, sad that I put all this effort in for what? A mere 400, 500 views?
Tag. When you make content, yes, you set yourself a target, but maybe you should consider not setting targets that are unreasonable. Look at your videos and then think of a value that is reasonable within that bracket of consistency. For you, 400 to 500 views is actually not bad. And yes, you are putting a considerable amount of effort into it, but it's still not bad. You getting pouty over the number of views you get just makes you look petty and jealous. You're very entitled and it shows. I have a video where I got a group of people to say, "Shut up, Wesley." It didn't do that well as far as views goes, but at the time, that's good. And I have videos with much less views that I'd wished I'd done better, but I'm not upset about it. It's just what it is. We move on. We continue to improve. We continue to grow. And that's what you should have done, because chances are you would have gotten there eventually.
Charming Man 93, he can get the same amount of viewers just by talking. No editing, no nothing, just simply being himself. I can't do that. I can't do that, despite the fact that I somehow do the exact same thing as Charming Man 93.
In all honesty, I don't believe I'm the right person to now talk on behalf of Charming Man 93. I have an idea. I'll just ask him. Oh, Charming Man, darling, why do you go on camera?
I go on camera because I'm amazing.
Well, I guess that answers that then. Unless you are amazing, you can't go on camera.
But if you guys knew me at all, is that there's a time and place where I tend to make fun of myself. For example, I tend to make pedophile jokes. Some people will accuse me for looking like a pedophile, so sometimes I tend to act like a pedophile, like, oh man, what color your panties are.
Those calling you pedophile or paedophile in my native language of English are not your friend. Some may in fact be subscribers just there for the lols and the cringe, but they are not your friend and you should not encourage that. You don't make pedophile or paedophile jokes because they're not funny, and asking what the colour of someone's panties are doesn't make you a paedophile, it makes you a pervert. Unless you're doing it to somebody below a certain age, in which case that's evidence in your impending trial. Don't encourage people by making paedophile or to you pedophile jokes. They are not funny.
There are times where I, just put jabs at myself, just poke jabs at myself.
Self-deprecating humour is actually quite good, and I can totally get on board with that within certain limits. The obvious exception being paedophile/pedophile jokes. Never associate yourself with those. Not even kidding.
Like the typical anti-feminist video you see on YouTube, it's starting to get really fucking old.
I can imagine being continually told you are a paedophile or pedophile is getting a bit tiring and old to you. And maybe even making anti-feminist videos. That's fine. What you need to do is rebrand and look to other areas of society if you want to do social commentary, or look to other genres to make content on if you want to make content. I feel like I'm about to hit the moment where I just leave you with some advice because there are 9 more minutes of this video and I've done this much so far, off so little.
Every time I see a pro-feminist video, they tend to make the exact same argument over and over and over again. And I realize that I'm responding to the exact same video over and over again.
Your channel name is The Atheist Gamer, not The Anti-Feminist Gamer. Maybe do videos on atheism. Maybe do videos against religion. Social justice, not just anti-feminist videos. Or as you call them,
Anti-feminist wank material.
yes, that.
There's no variety in these videos. Some of these people are literally just lacy green clones. And my video on that girl, I was pointing, just jabbing myself with a stick, about on how I'm literally just responding to the exact same video over and over again. And I knew that if I made that video, probably very few people were going to watch it because it's the exact same content again and again and again.
Okay, of your entire video I have managed 4 minutes, and that's including cutting out immense amounts of dead air. You are going to repeat yourself over and over again for the next 6 minutes, rendering this utterly redundant. I am not going to cover the rest of this video because you repeat yourself so much. Because you are so salty, because you are so bitter and petty. But I will address these points, and I will leave you with some advice, because I'm not a total cunt. So the first thing you mention is that there is no virility, or variety, since virility is a very different word, and most of these feminists are clones, something which is regularly directed at anti-feminist, anti-SJW people who use similar formats to present their content. For example, an avatar in a suit. How many people do you think get compared to Armored Skeptic, and how many times do you think he got compared to Logic? Next, you mention jabbing yourself with a stick because you're doing the same thing over and over again on the same type of person, therefore making the same type of video. But you chose to make that video. You choose to make what video you make. It's all on you. That is personal choice. You could have easily typed in Islam and got something very different. And finally you mention nobody seeing your content. Well, because it was such a bad video, it got quite a lot of views, so enjoy the ad money. I hope you used it to pay the $50 to Morgrand TV. When you go to make videos and you go into it with such a hateful attitude towards those you are critiquing, you run a huge risk of it backfiring, and it did for you, because you got bored and then you got sloppy. If you got bored, you could have stopped yourself, but you yourself made the choice to continue making those videos, just to make videos, when you could have switched it up, when you could have gone a different route. You could have attacked or approached something different, but you didn't. So now we come to the final part, which is just to you tag. If you want to make content in the anti-SJW area, anti-feminist area, anti-Islam, anti-anything really, whatever it is you want to stand for, there is nothing stopping you. You can ignore everyone that's been hurling abuse at you because of what you did and did not do sincerely. I don't really know, and I'm not going to hassle you enough to find out. My advice is, if you want to make videos, do it. It's your channel. But I personally would advise you to use your avatar. When you do, I think your video quality improves. Keep putting in that effort. You may not get as much as others do for what they do that may be less than what you do. If any of that makes sense, please let me know in the comments. But the fact is, it is your channel and you are free to decide how much effort you put in and what you expect to get out of it. Some people have quit because they're not getting what they want out of it, or they're not getting enough to justify what they do. And that's fine, that is their choice. I'm not going to judge them for it. I am merely going to advise if you want to make it and be popular enough to help other people, you need to change your personality a little bit and possibly tackling things in a way that is less obnoxious. Thank you all for listening.
I'm sorry that I told you to kill yourself. Well, actually I didn't tell you directly to kill yourself, but you get the idea. I am very, very, very sorry that I've told you to kill yourself. Indirectly. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry that I attempted to send you my fans over to your channel to dislike your video, to hate on you, cause you misery. I am sincerely, really,
Nobody gives a fuck.